Have you ever seen an airliner get recycled? Well, in this video, you get to see the last Boeing 727 that American Airlines operated get scrapped. Hi, my name is Eric Johnston, and I'm an aviation photographer. Join me as I document all kinds of aircraft from big to small and cool to, well, really cool. This video is proudly sponsored by Air Models. Check out their excellent variety of resin and die-cast aircraft models with over 400 commercial and military aircraft and helicopters available. Click the link in the description to see more from Air Models. For many of us airplane lovers, seeing an airplane get scrapped is kind of a tough thing to watch. But sometimes airplanes just live long enough to be too expensive to fix and keep flying. Once that happens, the useful parts are sold to keep other airplanes flying. And the rest? Well, the rest gets melted down and turned into beer cans or whatever. This particular 727 spent its last few years sitting on the ramp at left field beside another 727. One night, a strong storm sustaining hurricane-force winds moved the two airplanes enough to have the right wingtip of this 72 damage the left fuselage of the other one. There was so much pressure on the fuselage of the other 727 that the nose gear was only resting on the right wheel. As you can see here, the left wheel is completely off the ground and it's easily movable. Once we realized how much pressure both aircraft were under, we decided to secure the area and not let anybody else around the airplanes until we could properly separate them. The 727 with the damaged fuselage got repaired and is still sitting at left field, now at a different location. The other 727 with the damaged right wingtip is the one seen here being scrapped. The Boeing 727 was a favorite among many of its pilots. They said it had a fighter-like feel to it even though it was kind of a large airplane. They liked the flight handling characteristics so much that the pilots started to fly the airplane by feel and had to be reminded by the airline companies that the plane still needed to be flown by the numbers so they wouldn't keep freaking out the passengers in the back. The Boeing 727 is powered by 3 Pratt & Whitney JT8D turbofan jet engines. The airplane shares its 6 abreast upper fuselage cross-section and cockpit with the Boeing 707. The Boeing 727 design was a compromise among United Airlines, American Airlines, and Eastern Airlines. In 1959, Lord Douglas, chairman of British European Airways, suggested that Boeing and de Havilland Aircraft Company, later Hawker Siddeley, work together on their tri-jet designs, the 727 and the DH-121 Trident. The two designs had a similar layout, the 727 being slightly bigger. At the time, Boeing intended to use 3 Allison AR-963 turbofan engines, license-built versions of the Rolls-Royce RB-163 Spays used in the Trident. Boeing and de Havilland each sent engineers to each other's companies to evaluate each other's designs, but Boeing eventually decided against the joint venture. De Havilland had wanted Boeing to license-build the DH-121, while Boeing felt that the aircraft needed to be designed for the American market, with 6 abreast seating and the ability to use runways as short as 4,500 feet. In 1960, Pratt & Whitney was looking for a customer for its new JT8D turbofan design study, based on its J52 turbojet, while United and Eastern were interested in a Pratt & Whitney alternative to the RB-163 Spay. Once Pratt & Whitney agreed to go ahead with development on the JT8D, Eddie Rickenbacker, who you need to look up if you don't know who that is, chairman of the board of Eastern, told Boeing that the airline preferred the JT8D for its 7.2s. Boeing had not offered the JT8D as it was about 1,000 pounds heavier than the RB-163. Though slightly more powerful, the RB-163 was also further along in development than the JT8D. Boeing reluctantly agreed to offer the JT8D as an option for the 7.2, and it later became the sole power plant. Due to later noise regulations, the airplanes were installed with hush kits around 1965. The airline's middle engine, number 2, gets air from an inlet ahead of the vertical fin through an S-shaped duct, called the S-duct. The S-duct proved to be troublesome in that flow distortion in the duct induced a surge in the centerline engine on takeoff of the first flight of the 727-100. This was fixed by the addition of several large VGs, or vortex generators, in the inside of the first bend of the S-duct. After flying for American Airlines towards the tail end of its career, this 727 was used to fly several professional sports teams. That's why the seats have much more legroom than they did originally. Now, I'm not a really big fan of heights, although when I'm flying it doesn't really bother me, but walking out on this wing got me a little nervous. I remember thinking to myself as I was walking around the airplane shooting this is that in just a matter of a few days, there's nothing going to be left of this airplane. And I remember going to work every day and seeing it out there on the ramp for several years. Just kind of different to think about it just kind of going away. After the cockpit was gutted, it actually got so light in the front of the airplane, the nose actually lifted off the ground. So the guys got out of the airplane, brought a pickup truck to in front of it, tied a chain from the nose gear down to the pickup truck, used the truck to level it back out, and then put railroad ties underneath the tail to act kind of like a tail stand, so to prevent it from going back up. And then they took a large tug and attached it to the chain just as a further anchor, which worked out really well because they were going to need to put other railroad ties under the forward part of the fuselage and both wings to support the airframe when they demated the gear.
Which days I can actually get a bunch on these. I couldn't on those.
Yeah. Perfecto. I like it when they spin. Perfecto, mi amigo. My wife's Dominican, so I gotta speak a little Spanish.
During the deconstruction process, I learned that the seats were going to be up for sale. So I called Jeff Lee with Live Air Show TV, who's a friend of mine and a sports fan. He came out and got first dibs.
Who all flew these? This airplane was Texas Rangers, Dallas Stars, and Phoenix Coyotes. Wow. These are older. But if you look at them, I was thinking they were cool, you know?
They're still in
for
good
me,
shape.
no, I'm just saying they're an older style. Look at that.
Yeah.
I was thinking,
Oh, yeah.
I was just thinking, even for me, I was thinking, wow, these are pretty cool.
I wonder if they're more comfortable.
No, they're not. My
Really?
problem is, although they're cool as can be, without a footrest, you're going to have something down there because it drives me crazy.
True. True.
Because I keep thinking, okay, throw your feet up, they'd be perfect because they're really comfortable.
First world problems.
You're right, guys.
Exactly.
The engines went to A&P schools to be used as training aids to help new people learn how to fix jet engines. Now that the interior was completely gutted, it was time to let the fire department have some practice piercing the fuselage with the snozzle. While doing this, it's important for the operator to surgically position the spike. Too high and it will end up inside the overhead compartment, too low and there might be a passenger sitting right there. So this opportunity for them to practice on an actual airplane was invaluable. Once through, they have a few fire retardant materials to choose from for which they can pump inside the airplane to help extinguish the fire. Now this kind of training is taken very seriously by the fire department. Hey, that's me right there. Now the crane operator was warned whenever he hoisted the forward part of the fuselage that there might be a little bit excessive forward CG on the straps, and apparently the crane operator said not to worry. Hoisted the forward part of the fuselage and it sat on its nose. But they did get it leveled back out by readjusting the strap harnesses, and they got it loaded onto a flatbed truck going over to the fire department for further training.